Now, let's have a bit of discussion. Any question you have, anything you like to raise? Anyone?
Talk about the controversy with the definition of consciousness. What does Buddha, how does he define consciousness?
Okay, the Pali word is vijnana. Jnana, the root is something with knowledge. So there are many knowledge words that are in Pali, in early Buddhism. So it's a kind of knowing. It is knowing through our senses. Basically, one simple way of understanding is consciousness is knowing through our senses. And there are 6 kinds. We can say aware if you like, or conscious if you like. We are conscious through our eye, what we see, forms. We are conscious through our ear of sounds, and so on, all the 6. No? And this is what creates us. The first 5 are our body, and the 6th one is the mind. Okay? So our consciousness works through the 5 senses. Yes, that's very basic. There's no problem there. I see something. It's no suffering. When I fall down, I hurt my body. That's just pain, okay, bodily pain. But it's the mind that creates the problem. This mental consciousness, mind consciousness. The mind complains, oh, why is the floor not even? Why does somebody do this, somebody do that? We get angry, we get upset. It arises in the mind. So this is where the Buddha comes up with the teaching of the 2 kinds of pain. Bodily pain, mental pain. I mentioned this last week or so, I think, right? So this is where the Buddha says, the Buddha asked a question once. He says, monks, the ordinary untutored worldling is hurt in the body. An arrow, a dart hits a person, and he feels the pain in the body. Then he's also hurt in the mind because he gets very angry, very upset about it. So he's hurt twice. But the saint, the Arahant, is only hurt once. This dart hits him, he notices the pain, but the mind is not troubled by it. Now, in this little story lies a very important idea of pain. And I think you and doctors, when you do healing, you can understand this mental as how the mind makes big this pain. So this is what the Buddha tells us. Okay, he goes further to explain this thing. He tells this old man, he says, teach me something simple that I can learn. So the Buddha says, okay, reflect in this way. Although my body is sick, let not my mind be sick. So here again you see this application of this consciousness of 2 kinds of pain. So the idea of consciousness here also helps us to be aware of how our body reacts with our environment, and the mind creates this inner reality which we should vet and control, refine. So that's where we are able to withstand a greater level of pain or threshold of pain, so we become stronger in that sense. Or maybe in the future, we discover, wow, through meditation you can actually, or through mindfulness, you can overcome pain. You don't need drugs, you don't need medicine. Isn't that wonderful?
But so there's 2 kinds of pain, right? You mentioned physical and mental pain. But how do you know the difference? Because, let's say when I slap myself, right? My nerves are affected, and my nerves transmit the receptors to my brain. So that is the physical reaction. I cannot stop that from happening. If I were to isolate my brain, my nerves will still react. So how do I know when my brain is the one amplifying and when it is just a natural reaction?
Yeah, right. Natural. That's the answer. You see. So if it's a natural reaction, you just watch it. For example, I went to the dentist. I was so terrified with dentists those years. And he's going to pull out my tooth, I say, okay, pain. I say, oh, yeah, but I still feel the pain, But it's not so bad. I feel like there's a lump there. But then I don't react to it, you see, in a negative way. Fear does not arise. And before I know it, then they say it's out. Okay, wow, So I do not create this fear in me. So the idea is not to react to it. Yeah, sometimes we may not see the difference, but the idea is not to react to it, to make it more than what it is. We normally do that. We tell stories, we show emotions, or don't be emotional about it, for example. It's just pain. That's all it is. So you have this objectification of pain in a sense. All right? So if you make it bigger than it is, then that is suffering. If you just see it as it is, it will pass. So here again, you see the truth of impermanence. Pain is impermanence. And there's another interesting thing about nature of pain, especially when you meditate. You're sitting down meditating, and you sit in that one posture, you try not to move. You notice pain arising. Then the teacher tells you, okay, just watch the pain, note it, label it, pain, pain, pain. What are we doing when we label it? We're saying that's all it is. Do not tell stories about it, no narrative about it. That's all it is, a physical experience. But if you watch more carefully, you can also use the meditation as an object of mindfulness, meditation. What do you notice? You don't see pain as a lump, you see. Pain is a modulated experience. It goes up and down, pain, no pain, pain, no pain, pain, no pain. You notice that, you know. So you notice, hey, actually, there is this on-off thing, you know. So in other words, you can actually control it if you train yourself. All right, so this is the kind of what the meditation teachers are telling us. There is this impermanence of pain. Pain is not forever, it's not fixed. To a certain extent, it's even conceptual. It's something you create in your mind, you know. So the psychology of pain is very useful to us today with the healing. Even worrying, especially, if someone is stressed, we use this kind of approach. You say, well, you know, you are thinking it, so you let go of that thought. Like we're talking about letting go. Letting go means letting go of the negative aspects of responding to this situation. Okay?
Can I ask, right, with regards to study drugs, because I've heard of some medications that help you, that claim, that allow like people to be more focused and more attentive in general. So then I just bring it up, having a conversation with my family. Then my brother asked me a question, which was, don't you need mindfulness to be focused? And if so, what's so bad about having a drug to make you be more mindful? So I couldn't quite answer that.
I don't know. I'm sure the doctors have a better answer than me. No, I think it's obvious, isn't it? You become dependent on it. Craving. Of course, in Buddhist language, we say you crave for it. And worse than that, you become dependent on it. Then you can't function without it, and you're in serious trouble. See? That's a simple answer. So this is what craving does, you know. So I was just translating the little sutta. It's called the Nadi Sutta, the river current. So the sutta says, there is this man, he's floating on the river, maybe on the boat, maybe on the raft, and the current is carrying him. And he says, wow, this is great. And like this, the stream in Oxford, you know, and it's going down this river, you know. And a man with eyes standing on the river bank shouts at him and says, hey, there is a waterfalls there. There's a big, huge, dangerous lake ahead of you, you know, with a whirlpool and stuff, you know. The good thing is this man, you know, he responds. So he paddles his way, hand and feet, and he reaches dry land, okay? The current, that's, you take drugs and it pulls you. And then it's too late. You go over the waterfalls and that's the end, you see? Right? So there is this parable, not to be dependent on something external. That is a very important idea in Buddhism, external, internal, okay? Whatever cure that we create in ourselves in terms of self-healing, it must be within us. Even views, you know. Views means normally we look at something outside from inside. We don't examine what's going on inside us, how we view things. We fail to see how we view things, but we emphasize on the view. Say, no, this is right. But we don't realize this is my view. I'm standing on the south side of the mountain. I say, this is the view. You know? And the guy standing on the north side says, no, it's my view. And we start quarreling. That's stupid, you know. And we do that a lot on Facebook, you know. So then we realize, oh, I'm looking from the south side. It's okay, you know. The guy's looking from the north side. So in other words, we've got to look within. What do I see when I look within? There you are, back to one of the first questions we asked. So once you begin to see that, you learn something about yourself. And this is what Buddhism is about, learning how we think, learning how we act with that thought, and how the reaction or feedback comes to us, and what happens to us after that. So that's why it's not good to be dependent on drugs. I mean, it's better for you to go on with it. Even if you fail, maybe you're a late learner, that's no problem. You go with your mental health. You go there, and of course there are other ways of studying. You should not be depending on drugs.
But like,
isn't it true that when you experience pain, it's a body natural reaction against it?
Yes.
Right? So like in
yes.
evolution and like technically speaking, all this pain, all these negative sentiments, all have a function.
True,
which
yeah.
is why it is still currently
Yes.
existing and not
Yes.
like evolved out, right?
True, very true, yeah.
So to forcefully like push it out.
Oh, no, I didn't say push it out. Did I say that?
Okay, but to be able to accept it fully and to learn
Yeah.
sort of apathetic to it, isn't it in itself like...
No, I didn't use so apathetic, okay? Just be conscious of it. And when I just go on
do
asking.
not respond to it, right?
No, in fact, we do respond to it. We do not overreact to it. That's just what I'm trying to say.
Scold the person who slapped you.
But like you should walk away, right? As in, you should still like do
Scold
something
me bad word when I slap you. Just say ouch, but don't scold me bad word.
You should offer the other cheek.
No, I mean, you raise a very interesting point there. Pain has a purpose. Yeah, we are mindful of pain, right? So the meditation teacher also will tell you, don't disregard the pain. He never says that, you know. So, in other words, if you're a meditator or you're a mindful person or you are taught mindfulness, when you are sick, you know where the pain is. You know, I remember many years ago when I was a very young monk, for like 40 years ago, I came to the NUH. I seem to love NUH, you know. So I could describe my symptoms so clearly. The doctor laughed at me, say, "Can we invite you to appear before these final year students and let them ask you questions?" I remember this wonderful experience, you know. I was, what was I ill with? Yeah, I can't remember everything of it. But I remember what I said. So I said that I had some kind of arrhythmia. This doctor, this GP, diagnosed it as paroxysmal tachycardia. Yeah, so it suddenly just goes nearly 200 beats a minute. You know, can you imagine that? Now I don't have it anymore. So I was telling myself I was worried that I might get a heart attack. So I was very young. I was like before my 20s, you know, late teenage. So I told myself, okay, I'm going to climb this Mount of Fear, you know, in Johor. Yeah, so if I get a heart attack, I will know. Stupid thing, but I did that anyway. So I climbed up there. I did get a bit of palpitation. Then all I need to do is just sit down, relax, and wait for that rhythm to go back to normal, and then I feel okay. I go on with my...
Submit Ophir.
Did I?
Submit.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we did, yes. So it was something like that, you know, among other things, yeah. So I can't remember the rest. So anyway, we need to be aware of that pain, the symptoms. So, okay, now that you raised this question, very interesting point here. So I had this arrhythmia thing. The doctor gave me propranolol, they put under the tongue and, you know, things like that. Then I found that I don't have to take propranolol, you know. I just kind of take a deep breath and then push my diaphragm up and then hold my breath as long as I can and then relax. And then it's like you change gear when you're driving and then boop, boop, it goes back to normal. I say, wow, okay, I don't need drugs, you know. And then I found a third discovery. I don't have to do anything at all. I just sit down, meditate. Okay, slow down. Because one doctor told me motor action. You know, I think you know what I mean, right? So send that message. Slow down. And it slowed down. So I don't even need to exert myself. You see, so this is where the Buddha gave a very beautiful analogy in the Satipatthana Sutta. He says... in the what's called Vitakka Santana Sutta, methods of overcoming distractions. He's talking about meditation. He says there's this man who's running. Then he asks himself, "Why am I running? I don't need to run. Let me just walk." So he slows down. He walks. Then while walking, he says, "Why should I walk? Let me just sit down." You know. So he sits down. I mean, why should I be walking? You know. So you got to exert yourself. As he's sitting down, he says, "Okay, why do I lie down? You know, more relaxed." So the Buddha says from a more difficult posture, he goes an easier one. So too in meditation, you kind of develop yourself like that. It becomes easier over time. So in a sense, that was what I experienced with my heart condition. You know? It's just something I thought I would share with you. Okay, any other question? Yeah.
So beings become sentient when they gain consciousness. And plants are not sentient. So
they're only one facultative. Yeah.
So when and how when does consciousness arise so that we become sentient?
Yeah. Okay, this is a very difficult question. I can only give you my views, okay? I remember many years ago there was a seminar, one undergraduate asked, when did life begin? Something like that. When does, say, a baby, yeah? Okay, the suttas say there are 3 conditions necessary for life. Mother and father come together. Number 2, there is a being to be born. In other words, this consciousness that or the second one is the mother's fertile period. And the third one is a being to be born must be present. So you have all these conditions. In other words, this being of someone who has passed away, the consciousness goes down. Okay? Conception occurs. So you must, this consciousness kind of enters that zygote or whatever you call it. So the big question now is we are not told exactly when this happened. So that's the problem, you know. So this is a very important issue because I don't know, medically I think when does life begin medically? At which point? 2 months?
Medically?
Yeah.
When the embryo
is it 2 months?
The legal term to terminate is before 24 months. 24 weeks, sorry.
24 weeks, okay. Yeah, no, why this is important is because sometimes people come to me and ask about abortion. You know, it's a very difficult question for a Buddhist monk to answer. A Buddhist monk would never say abort, you know. So at best, the monk would say, or our Buddhist would say, okay, maybe within 24 weeks it's okay, but after that you should keep the baby. That's the best we would go. You see? So Buddhism doesn't have all the answers, especially these medical things like this, you know. So we will accept the findings, right, of medical science. So we know for sure that, okay, life begins in the 24th week, okay, that's good information. But better still, do not abort at all, right? So there is this possibility from 0 to any of the period, 24 weeks. Life could have started there, that we can't detect it, it's possible. So I have no exact answer here. There's no suttas mentioned directly exactly when. But from the suttas, it's as if that it can be any time during that period, when the 3 conditions are all present. Okay?
Actually, just now you mentioned not to be dependent on external, right? Is that also very similar when you compare to other religions? Like Buddhism, for me, the thing I like about Buddhism is when you face challenges, you try to solve it on your own first. As compared to relying on.
Well, that's very true. I mean, if other religions teach about self-dependence, it's wonderful. But let me tell you my experience. I was, at one time the DSO, the Defense Science Organization, they got me to teach meditation there. I mean, it's really amazing. Some people they keep a lookout for this. You just apply, you just sit there, do nothing, you get $500. And it's a bunch of veterans. Then during the break, I asked some of the girls, I said, they're not Buddhists, So I said, okay, so they're God believers. So I said, well, why do you believe in God? And they say, I need a figure that takes care of me, protects me, that father figure. So I don't think that's self-dependence, So they always want some sense of security. And Buddhism tells you, you don't need that. You can look within yourself. Okay? Okay, this is where I think I should come to this very important point. I brought a sutta to show you an example here. Let me just pass this around. Can you just pass this around? From what you have said, it's all mentioned here. I want to give you an example of how a sutta is like. It's only 2 pages, very short. Yeah, sure. Okay. I'm glad you make it this time. Yeah, take it with you. Yes. Now, this is a standard transition I do. First thing is look at the section on top right-hand corner that gives you the details of the title and so on. Anicca Cakku Sutta. Okay. Some more there. Yeah. All right. So, now the original title is simply Cakku Sutta. Cakku means the eye faculty. But there are many Cakku Suttas, so I put a prefix in front. anicca meaning impermanence, okay? And next line is a translation, and then you have the reference. So either you remember the sutta name or the reference, S25.1, okay? S means Sangyutta Nikaya, what's called the connected sayings, okay, the third volume of the four Nikayas. Point 1 means first sutta. Now, this is chapter 25. It's a very important chapter, which I recommend that you remember it. There are 10 suttas there. They all have a similar theme as this one. So if you understand this sutta today, you more or less understand all the 10. It's just a matter of what subject you want to choose for your reflection and meditation. This sutta is a guarantee for your awakening in this life. That much I can tell you. What it means, let's find out, okay? All right, so this sutta starts simply by saying, at Savatthi, so this is the location where the Buddha was living. Line 2, there the Blessed One said. Then I've given headings for you, that's why this translation helps you, by giving headings, so it's easy for you to have an idea what you're reading. The senses are impermanent, 6 senses are impermanent. Bhikshus are the monks, okay? The eye is impermanent, changing, becoming otherwise. The ear is impermanent, changing, becoming otherwise. I want you to be patient with me and follow every repetition. Okay, it's very important, all right? The nose is impermanent, changing, becoming otherwise. The tongue is impermanent, changing, becoming otherwise. The body is impermanent, changing, becoming otherwise. The mind is impermanent, changing, becoming otherwise. All right, so you see here there are 6, these are the 6 senses. And the Buddha is saying, okay, this is the reality behind the 6 senses. Now in this translation, I make sure everything is laid out here. No etceteras. Technically we call them peyalas, short form. Someone asked me, why do I need to translate? Because there are many other good translations. Very true, there are good translations. But the problem with those, I call them commercial translations because they are done by commercial printers, nicely done, and there's a time limit. So the translator has to make it very compact. So what the translator will do is, the eye is impermanent, etc., and then the ear, 3 dots, the nose, 3 dots. You see, the problem, if you're not familiar with the sutta, you say, what are the 3 dots? You don't know. I mean, you just leave them, I mean, this is an easy text, but there are more difficult texts where you have 3 dots. What's that? In fact, there is a scholar, one of the leading Buddhist scholars in the West called Alice Cousins. He was criticizing this translation. He says, you cannot shorten this kind of repetition. When the Buddha says something 10 times, how can you just say 1 time? You won't get the effect. There's a reason why the Buddha gave everything 10 times. Because it is an oral transmission. He's teaching you meditation. It is not an academic session. Because when you reflect, you read this, the eye is impermanent, changing, becoming otherwise. You listen to it line by line. It sinks in. That's the theory part. Maybe nothing happens. Then one day, you're operating and someone, you say, oh, that's the eye. And then something happens to you. Bang, you get this fantastic insight. This is what you're preparing yourself for when you read this. This is a reflection. So you cannot shorten it. All right? This is the key passage here, which tells you how to reflect. All right? Okay, this is the eye. Then there are other, like 5 aggregates and so on, the other, what they call 9 suttas. No? This is the beginning. Now the Buddha tells you what are the benefits, the faith follower. Section 4. Bhikshus, one who has faith thus. In other words, if you just merely have faith, okay? You don't question it. You say, I'm fine, I can believe in impermanence, I have no problem with impermanence. Who firmly believes these truths, or is convinced of this truth, is called a faith follower. He is descending into the certainty of rightness, or the fixed cause of rightness, descending into the plane of the true individuals. He has gone beyond the plane of the worldlings. Okay, this is scriptural language. Now, the key verb here is descending, because this is in early Buddhism, the Buddha is referring to attaining of stream winning. And stream winning is often compared to a man going down into a boat. The boat is just beside the river. You go from the jetty down into the river. You descend into the boat. So that's why descending is used. And then the boat moves upstream to nirvana. Okay? So here the Buddha said, this person who has faith, he says, well, I believe in impermanence. And he goes down into this certainty of rightness. Whenever you see rightness here, it refers to the Eightfold Path. Rightness, the right path. Okay? And once you hit this path, you're sure to head in that direction. And descending into the plane of the true individuals. Okay, the true individuals here refer to those who are practicing. They are going to be saints. So what does true individual means? They do not rely on outside, so much on outside help. They can rely on themselves, basically, the true individual. Or in Jungian psychology, we have the term individuation. You become your true self. Individual, undivided. You are single-minded. You are yourself. You are independent of others. This we mention in a while. So you are reaching the plane of the true individual, or you use modern psychological language, you are in the process of individuation. You can say that, and it makes good sense. He has gone far beyond the plane of the worldlings. Another way of putting it, he has risen above the crowd. The crowd are not individuals. The crowd think like a crowd. The crowd never thinks, in fact. Okay? So you have an amazing statement here. All right, so this is the statement regarding this one who has faith. There's something else, 4.3. This is the benefit, if you constantly reflect on impermanence. He is incapable of doing any intentional deed by which he might be reborn in hell or in the animal birth or in the preta realm. Okay, that means if you practice in this way, you be calm, and you'll never create bad karma because you know everything is impermanent. So you will not go below the human plane. You will not fall into the subhuman plane. This is very important. The precepts are about remaining human. The precepts humanize us. We only have a physical human body when we are born from our human parents. That's all our parents gave us, the human body. But if this baby, newborn baby, is snatched by some wolf or apes, and you know the story, this baby becomes those wolves or apes, and it's impossible to humanize them after that. Now, so we are born with a human body, then our parents spend some years, first 7 years especially, humanizing us. How we become human, and that's a very important aspect of our developmental psychology. Born with a human body, then the humanization process. Meditation brings us to the divinization process. The Brahma Viharas, for example, loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity makes us godly. So in other words, we can rise above our humanity even. Okay. Anyway, coming back to the sutta. So here the Buddha is saying, if you practice in this way, you will not break the precepts, so you will not be reborn in the lower subhuman suffering realms. Then, you see, at first when I read the sutta, I said, wow, you can just become a stream winner like this. You can just get to the path to awakening in this life. Amazing. I had a bit of doubt. But it is this next line, my doubt was clear when I read the next line. I've underlined it. He is incapable of dying without having attained the fruit of stream winning. So in other words, you may not attain stream winning in this life, but here the sutta says, the Buddha says, definitely at the moment of passing away, you will become a stream winner. In other words, reborn next life as a stream winner. Now this makes sense because this is a habitual reflection. Everything is impermanent. So if you lose someone, you're not traumatized, you accept it more easily. You lose something precious, again you say, okay, it's like that, what you have is never permanent. So you are you're okay. So you remain stable as a human, more likely. So if you have this kind of regular habitual karma, so naturally when you pass away, you're going to be a stream winner in this sense, because you have not done some crazy bad stuff and so on. All right? Okay, so this is the definition of a truth follower. In other words, if you have faith, you just need faith. It will work also. This is very interesting, I can have faith in God, but I can also question, does God exist? And it can be questionable, But can I question, is impermanence true? You see, I mean, it answers itself. You see the point? It's an easier question to answer than, is God true? You see? So this is where, even with impermanence, you can still have faith in it. No problem. But the second kind of person is the truth follower. This is the more intellectual, if you like. Okay, wisdom faculty. Previous is faith faculty. This is the freedom faculty person. 5, section 5. Bhikshu is one who accepts these truths after pondering over them with some wisdom. Thus, is called a truth follower, and everything else is the same after that. So he's descending to the certainty of rightness, and then he becomes a true individual. He rises above the crowd of worldlings, and he is not capable of doing any bad karma that will make him reborn in a lower state, subhuman states. If either he attains stream winning in this life, or definitely at the moment of dying. All right? And the sutta closes with the definition of a stream winner, section 6. One who knows and sees this truth, thus, is called a stream winner. No longer bound for the lower world, surely going over to self-awakening. And traditionally it is said, at the most, you have 7 more lives to go. But some of these lifespan are very long. So this is the amazing short sutta which tells us you can get awakened in this life. So this is where I think it's amazing, because many Buddhists don't even know where they're going. They say, no, I don't think I want to go to Nirvana. It's so difficult, you know. But this is to tell us, at least we will not fall into the suffering states. Okay. Now I don't know whether you want to end here or want to. We can. This place closes at 9 o'clock. Are you willing to go on, or you want to finish 5 minutes time? I mean, my watch is fast. I'm sorry. About 15 minutes time.
I actually have a question.
Yeah. Okay.
Because since you're gone beyond the plane of worldlings and like distinguish him or herself as an individual, how do you grapple with that and the idea of conceit? Conceit. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I would, William, can you turn down the aircon? Is very cold.
Okay.
Yeah. So conceit and individual, is it? That's interesting. Okay. In Buddhism, the term for individuality is sappurisa. Sappurisa simply translates as good person, excellent person. So who is an excellent person? Who is an individual according to early Buddhism? He's able to think for himself and he's able to feel for himself. Thinking and feeling are very important aspects of Buddhist psychology. Of the two words, feeling is more important. The special term for feeling in Pali is pati sang vedeti. Now vedeti means to know. Sang means something like concentration, pati is kind of interactive. So feeling is a very important word in early Buddhism. To feel something means to experience directly. For example, I ask you, how do you feel about this? All right? So the ability to feel means you experience directly. And this is the basis of another big area in modern learning, aesthetics. Right? And I love this part where meditation and the whole Buddhist practice talk about beauty and truth. Right? So anyway, this conceit, on the other hand, means you're not an individual. You are looking for something. You want to be something. You're always measuring, wow, this guy has a nice car, I also want a nice car. This guy has a fantastic, high-speed, great memory phone, and I want that too, you know. So, yeah?
When I clarify when I mean conceit, because from personal observation, some people use spirituality as like a defense mechanism to say, I'm better than you. Like, you know, just kind of like holier than thou kind of perspective.
Okay.
So, in that sense, I've seen egos being built that way as well, which I don't think is very healthy. So how do you balance that?
Okay. The first, I mean, if you study basic psychology, defense mechanism, that is something unconscious, eh? So again, you have mindfulness here. So the first thing is you become conscious of it. You say, okay, I mean, you don't have to tell anybody this. You say, all right, I have this defense mechanism, you know, I think I feel inferior. That's the first thing, self-knowledge. Then you ask yourself, okay, this is first noble truth, number one, right? Then what's the cause? Why do I think like this? You explore, see? and they say, oh, maybe my family background, maybe or peer or whatever. Then you know yourself why. Then what do I do about it? Third noble truth. And then you act on it, you see? So that's how you individuate, by knowing what's really troubling you. And we are not born perfect. We all have to go through some kind of difficulty, you see? Like diamonds, you go through this fire and pressure, and then, wow, diamond, you know? So to live is to learn, right? I tell you this, but when I see young teenagers loving each other, I say to love is to learn. Same thing. Because when you make friends, you got to learn how to adapt yourself to this other person. To be an individual means that you can think for yourself, yes, at the same time you are willing and able to change so you can connect with this significant other. We all have significant others. You are all my significant others. So I've learned to adapt to you. So only when I can do that, then I have some sense of individuality in me. I can think for myself. I don't react negatively. Okay, so whatever is negative going around us are, you can say, moments of learning for me. I ask myself, there's something missing in me. Why? So this is where we ask the why, and from there the noble truths come in. So it's okay to have this difficult situation out there. Important thing is to question yourself, and that's what the Four Noble Truths are actually, a series of questions. Once you start doing your doctoring, you go through the Four Noble Truths every time. You diagnose the disease, you say why, and then the cure, and then you give the regime for the cure. It's always there, right? So you come back to yourself, you have this individuality in the sense of you think for yourself. There is this mental concentration. So individual, in other words, is bodily, speech, refined, germane, friendly. The mind also is calm and clear, focused, collected. So that is the true individual that the Buddha is talking about. And the final sadhu, of course, is the Arahat, the awakened one, who has both wisdom and compassion in good balance. Okay? Yeah.
Right, so in some circumstances, like when you feel acutely, you feel a lot of anger, a lot of grief. When you're in situations like these, how should one go about analyzing, your emotions behind this, whether it's rational or not? Or
well, I think the Buddha went through all that, So this is what brings awakening. This you can either turn them to bring you to hell or to awakening. So accept them as they are. I'm angry. Wow, this is anger. This is amazing. I never thought anger is so bad. I mean, once you look at anger, it's the easiest to overcome. Like half the anger is gone. You see, you have the three roots: greed, hate, delusion. Okay, hate is anger. It's the easiest to overcome. So if you're angry, you say, "Oh, I'm angry. This is not good." Half anger gone. Right. So to know the negative emotion is to overcome it. Okay? So that's one. Right? And next thing, of course, is to examine the conditions or causes that bring about this negative emotion, and to remove those conditions if possible, or correct those conditions. That is the countermeasure, if you like. So these are some of the ways. And of course, your loving kindness meditation, for example. Right? So you look for the countermeasure, basically. So it comes to mental training, meditation. Okay? There are also reflections. You can beautiful stories, or lots of wonderful stories in Buddhism. Right?
Sorry, back to that.
Yeah, sure.
Back to the question of life. I'm just wondering what the answer given by a Buddhist counselor. Let's say this happened in a scenario. Let's say this single mother of maybe 8 children, financially stretched. She's just been told that she has got a baby who is expected to be Down syndrome.
Oh.
Yeah. So let's say she attends a Buddhist counseling session. What would be the expected full message from this kind of session to her?
I think the Buddhist counsel definitely will not tell her to abort.
But it would be difficult for her, right? In that sense.
Yeah. So I suppose counseling alone is not enough. You must have a kind of social network to support her. See.
Let's say paint a very devastating scenario: single mother of 8 children.
Okay.
Financially very tight already.
Okay. So if the counselor is really serious, you say, okay, I he will recuse himself. He will say, I'm sorry, I can't counsel you this. You have to see a doctor who is qualified to give you the advice, or maybe even a legal advisor, whatever, that whether you need an abortion or not, I cannot give you this advice. So I think the Buddhist counselor has certain limits. He wouldn't go beyond that limit. Because when he says you should abort, then the karma is his also. So this is why a lot of people don't realize when they ask those mosquito questions, the monk won't answer. Because if the monk says you can kill, then the karma is on the monk also, is it? So at best the monk will say, okay, be mindful, respect life, You find Westerners will never ask such questions, because you got to be responsible for ourselves. We can decide for ourselves. So these are questions we don't have to ask, especially a monk or a nun, or even a Buddhist counselor. But as I said, they do ask, but it's up. If the counselor is really serious, I think he knows his limits. He will never break the precepts. He will say you got to ask the right people who can give you all the advice. Again, you have to make up your mind on your own. Yeah. And again, no karma is final. That's another thing. So we do many good deeds, we do many bad deeds, so there's a lot of interaction of karma. So this, of course, may help the person the person concerned to decide. In other words, we are not taking life lightly. That's my point. There's no easy answer. Okay, and I hope you're happy to hear that, because if you have an easy answer, wow, it's scary, especially euthanasia, that kind of stuff, Yeah. Okay, we'll still have some time.
The Mayanese tradition. Yours is more the scholarly road there rather than historical backing.
Okay.
The Mayanese tradition will say that, Buddha stored this sutra somewhere 500 years later, then it appears. You must have gone through Mayanese scriptures.
Yes.
Yeah. What is your opinion on all this?
Okay. You got early Buddhism, so that the suttas were said to be compiled 3 months after the Buddha passed away. And they have this very careful system of, oral tradition and so on. And then one tradition went down to Sri Lanka, and the other one went to China and are preserved in the first 2 volumes of the Chinese Tipitaka. Right? So we can vouch that they're very authentic, very old. On the other hand, the later Buddhism, it's very much molded, very much affected by local traditions. Some of them are actually written by local people. And China has special difficulty because you have the emperor, and sometimes he's the one who decides finally what is true or not. You see? So that is why I say that it's easier to use early Buddhism, where you are more sure of its authenticity. Whereas there are many other later teachings. For example, even in Chinese Buddhism, there is a belief in the soul, for example. And in Tibet, they bring in all the gods and demons, So you have that ethnic aspect, which we don't need. But maybe it's important to Tibetans, but we don't need. So now the Western Buddhists, for example, they find they do not need to follow the ethnic aspects of Buddhism. They just want the practice aspect. So my point is we can choose, basically. That's the great thing about being a Buddhist. We can select. I mean, if you find meditating on Kuan Yin helps to bring you peace and love, so why not, So there's nothing wrong with that, as long as it does not go against the basic teachings of the Buddha. Okay? Yeah, another thing is the teachers sometimes have to think of ways of authenticating the teaching. So one of the ways is this idea of buried treasure, this teaching was hidden at some point, or sometimes they say it's preserved in the Naga realm and so on. Of course, any religious scholar will tell you these are very clever ways of authenticating the teaching. And I think we today, if you're intelligent enough, you are insightful enough and honest enough, you say, okay, I don't need to accept this. In other words, you have the choice. I'm not saying they're right or wrong, but I mean, they could have some interesting ideas, But you got to ask yourself, do I need this idea? I went through that many years, but since 2000, I told myself, I think I've got to simplify my Buddhist life. Let me just go back to early Buddhism. It's much simpler, and there's quite a lot of stuff there already. Okay? Yes.
On the idea of impermanence,
Mhm.
most things in life are quite impermanent. But
Oh,
there
definitely.
are some things that may seem very permanent, like let's say the loss of a loved one, or if a person has to go through an amputation, that limb will never come back. So in those kind of situations, how does one go and accept this kind of situations?
I think we often taught to accept the present moment, things as they are. If you don't accept reality right now, how are you going to function? Then it's delusion, see? So we ask ourselves, what's the reality now? Number one, okay? Number two, we all have our karma, right? So maybe it is a result of some past karma. But karma alone doesn't work. You have present conditions to this too. Nature-nurture thing, right? Nature is past karma, nurtures present conditions. So these are the couple of things that the person should be aware. The most important thing is we've got to accept what is the real situation now and work from there. And I suppose you can bring in stories about all these people like, Professor Hawkins, look at him, his body is all crumpled up, but the mind is amazing. So your mind should not be limited by your body. This is what meditation is about. Meditation begins by sitting very still. We close our eyes because we are letting go of our five senses. We are shutting down our five senses. We are going to a supra-sensual level of experience, a direct mind-to-mind experience. So the mind is the path, the door to awakening. So although my body may be incomplete, my mind should not. My mind can be complete. So this is the third thing, we can stress on mental training. I mean, look at Hawkins, the mind is amazing, right? So I would say that the Buddhist teacher or Buddhist doctor would encourage that person with this idea that build your mind. Then no one can stop you, right? Okay, anything else? This is our last session, so I thought, just see. As long as you want to end.
There are some practitioners who just delve into the scholarly research, scholarly understanding without actually emphasizing on the mindfulness.
True, yes.
Your comments.
Scholars are useful, that.
Not just that. There are some practitioners who think just by the logical thinking, logical reading and all, they can get away with it. Can they get away with it?
No, I don't agree with that. Because if you only study the books, that's only theory. You call it pariyatti. Even in the traditions, it's already there. There is theory, practice, realization. That's the path. So if you only study books, that's it. You're stuck there. There is no change, or as I mentioned the word, there's no feeling. The feeling aspect is missing. The direct experience is missing. Okay, so we need to take one step further. And if you're a scholar, wow, all this stuff, that's really great. Then you're able to explain it more clearly. This is what I try to do, to master the sutras as carefully as I can. And it's easier for me to answer, explain, and inspire you with the beauty of the sutras. And I told myself, the early sutras much easier if I start bringing all the wow, how much huge the Buddhist library is. So, and moreover, I think it's enough. The early sutras are quite complex in itself. We are not aware of that. We only hear those basic teachings, but there are lots of others. And the other amazing thing is when you connect the teachings together, you get a new dimension to understanding early Buddhism. So that's another area and another one is detective work. You begin to discover certain things you're not very sure about. For example, at what age did the Buddha actually renounce the world, and so on. So I've written this book we're going to release during Wesak season this year. It's called what's the title again? The Miraculous Life of Gautama Buddha. So they explain all those difficult stories, legends, and miracles of the Buddha from the day he was born until awakening. So do wait for that book, and you can email us online. We'll send it to you, or we can send a bunch of the books here also. So what I'm saying is, yes, there's so much to study about Buddhism, but there's only one aspect. You got to live it. You got to experience it, so that others also will benefit. Not just through learning, which is only one level, but through experience. And their lives will change, and it's very important. Whereas if you just study academically, you don't need to change your life. I mean, we have non-Buddhists teaching Buddhist subjects, in England, for example, which is quite odd, actually.
You just put up something on Facebook about today, I think.
Oh, you notice? Okay.
But we Buddhists, even on the social media, we should play our part in spreading.
Yeah.
So, how much of evangelizing should we do, and how much of inward looking should we do? Should we just be 99.99% inward looking?
Okay, that's a wonderful question. No, we just got to be friendly with people and tell them we are Buddhists, and with a sense of commitment and joy, we show them how happy we are, and they say, "Wow, I'd like to be happy like you." That's one. We can't say. I mean, I can't understand the rationale where I can't talk to about Buddhism because you're not Buddhist, but others can talk to us about their religion. I don't know, but that is very silly, isn't it? So what I'm saying is, there are occasions when you can talk about it. For example, I went to this EIF, this exploration in faith, and I said, wow, you have all the different kind of people, and it is a wonderful chance for me to talk about what I believe in, and you'd also want to know that. In a sense, you are responding to their needs, and they will thank you. And some of them actually, years later, they will tell you, I met you at that time. Now I found, wow, I'm practicing vipassana. And in the Mining Center, we have a cross-section of people from different religions coming for meditation: Christians, Hindu, Buddhists, Jews, Muslims. So this practice is important to them, meditation. So if we don't tell them, they don't know this. So our task is simply to inform them. They do the choosing. Now, if you make them choose, then you're evangelizing. But we're not saying, hey, you must choose. No, we just tell them. And the quality of Buddhism will work for itself. That's our faith in it. Okay? So that's why I tell people, hey, please pass on, share that, the post that you like. Otherwise, share that, whatever you call it, imagine this network is amazing, Facebook, right? And they're sending all this frivolous stuff, so why not send something useful, right?
She should have been on the select committee.
I'm too controversial to be on any committee, I think. Okay. Anything else? Maybe one last question? No? Up to you.
I was just reading this sutta, and then it made me realize how difficult reaching Sotapanna is. Like, in a sense, in order to just reach the first state of Nibbana, you need to be mindful of so many things
like what?
At the same time, or
only one thing, impermanence, that's all.
Yeah, but in order to be fully mindful of it, I'm not even mindful of my thoughts half the time, and in order to be mindful of all the senses together, requires a lot of training. And in that sense, how do you have, or how do you build the confidence in order for you to strive for that in this present life?
The first thing, as I said, what lies before you? Accept it as it is, okay? And all this will change. It's impermanent, For example, you may think, wow, look at all the years I have to study. But then you tell yourself, it's impermanent. Very soon you see it will change. Tomorrow morning will come. That's one simple reflection. Right? We had one session last week, and now this session is going to end. And I feel so good about it. I say, wow, I've done my task. I don't have to talk anymore. So you feel a sense of joy with impermanence too. And then when you look at people, you say, wow, this person I love, Again, it's impermanent. I better show all my love to this person. People you care for, you value them better. I apply it to my work, for 16 years I've been doing all this translation work, and I've produced about 60 volumes, about 10,000 pages. I said, wow, how did I do this? By not telling myself I'm going to write 10,000 pages. I just go back, do one paragraph, play with my cat, do something, and then come back again, another paragraph. So I just do it as and when the moment arises, I know time is again moving, impermanent. So it helps you in that sense. That's the reflection of impermanence. So if you regularly have that kind of mind, you're not troubled by loss of things, you accept them as they are, you value them more, right? This is one of my answers about this. People like to say, oh, there are as many Buddhas, the grain of sand on the Ganges River. I say, wow, the Buddha is like sand, it loses value, you know. But if the Buddha is, to us, there's only one Buddha, it's like a diamond, just one diamond, so it's very precious to us. So impermanence means we learn to value life even more. The precepts. Why do we not kill? Because life is precious. Why do we not steal? Because with life we labor, and we labor so that we have happiness. So if you take that away, then you lose meaning, you know, that you don't want to work, nobody works. Number 3, the sexual misconduct. This is when the person is not respected, no freedom. The person has the right to say no. Okay? Even a wife has the right to say no to the husband. So this is freedom. So you have life, happiness, freedom. Number 4, very easy. It's against lies. So it's truthfulness. Oh, this must be true in order for this to be effective. Then the 5th precept is about the mind. The mind must not be clouded because the mind is our bridge, our doorway to awakening. Right? So you have all the 5 precepts and the 5 values there. So when you reflect on impermanence, you begin with life. You begin to value life. It's at the very essence of our experience. That is why we can attain stream winning in that. It's the easy way. This is why I'm so happy when I came to Singapore. This is my gift from NUS, because they got me to study the suttas again, and I discovered the sutta. I said, why did I see this earlier? All my years of study, and here it is. I discovered it by accident, teaching the students. So this is the good karma coming back to you all. Okay? So that's how the Buddha says you gain stream winning in this life itself, or definitely at the moment of passing away, because your mind is already so regulated by this wonderful karma, you will not have all those negative thoughts. It's beyond your control by then. It's just a momentum of your mind. Okay? So it's not difficult at all. Impermanence is there all around you. Observe it, welcome it, live it. Okay? Anything else? No more questions, huh? Okay, I have 2 books here. They're free. Please help yourself. You have to take more than 2 if you like. I have my email in the books, in the notes. So at the bottom, you can. This is actually the website. Lots of suttas there. Feel free to write to me if you like. Any questions? No? And hopefully we can meet again sometime in the future. Okay. So thank you for coming and a wonderful time together. All right. Yes. Sadhu. Okay.